Aloha, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Faith and Family First. I'm your host, Eva and with my co-host, Marcus Oshiro, and we're going to be talking about that winding road, the winding road of the legislative session. We're kind of getting there toward the end, what's happening, what's not happening. Stay tuned for the show today because you want to know what secrets may be happening in that Capitol building. So let's chat about that. Marcus, welcome to the show again.
Eva, good to be here again.
Okay, we're going to do something different. We're going to think outside the box for this show. So we're going to ask all our viewers to right now to like this video, share, subscribe, hit that notification button because we need the numbers to go up. Otherwise, we're going to go away. And if we go away, Marcus, who's going to be sharing with people the things that are happening at the Capitol and the world through the Christian lens? In Hawaii?
I don't know.
Is there anybody out there? Maybe there is. Maybe there is.
Yeah.
Let's not say.
Yeah, I hope there is.
But I think that it's important that we stay plugged in to you. So make sure you do that and comment below. So as we're talking, if there's something that kind of clicks with you, a comment you want to make, if you want to tell us we're wrong, then go ahead and click that. Make a comment because Marcus will answer all negative comments for the show.
Yeah. Call Eva.
We do appreciate that you all take your time to log into the show. So we are now moving towards the end of the legislative session. As people are listening to this now, what has happened is any bills that are still alive that disagreement has happened are now kind of working their way through a conference committee.
Right. So the disagreements that have been made on the House bills to the Senate and from the Senate bills to the House, that's where we are right now. And they're no longer having public hearings. They're in the stage of finally settling on a final draft, and it's in these conference committees.
Right. So that's important that people understand that. There are some bills that agreement took place, and those bills are starting to trickle now to the governor for signature.
Yeah, once agreement is made and there's the final reading or final passage of a bill, it goes right up to the governor's desk on the 5th floor.
Right. So if there's a bill that you're tracking that is alive and it's on the way to the governor, you still have time to make some action on it. You can send an email to the governor. You can call the governor's office. You can do that through our voter voice system. You don't have to wait for a call to action. That's one of the good things about our voter voice system. You can log in and find out who your representative is, who your senator is, and your congressional representatives and the governor. You can send a message right from voter voice. So we encourage you to do that. Stay plugged in because there's other bills that have been moving, Marcus, that we have not been talking about, right? Like some of the vaccination bills.
That's correct.
Do you have anything that you want to share about those particular bills on where they might be in the process?
Well, I think one of the bills that we've been working on is the Universal Immunization Fund that's going to set aside some general fund monies for the purposes of purchasing in bulk different types of medications and vaccines that Director Fink believes is appropriate given the current status of federal funding for these types of services and medications. I think it's right now in conference and they're trying to resolve the amount of money that they will set aside to fund the program. My guess would be that they will probably reach an agreement on the bill itself and come out with some final bill with some appropriation general funds for the next 2 years.
Oh, that's a good segue because we talked about the budget last week. Where is the budget bill right now?
The budget bill right now is also, I believe it's House Bill 3,300. 300. Excuse me, it's growing. Another zero.
That's what happens with anything financial, right?
Now we get into some real money with $20 billion. No, so the House and Senate conferees, both members of the House Finance Committee and the Senate Ways and Means Committee, are hammering in on a final draft of the biennium budget for the next 2 years, effective July 1st through June 30th, 2027. And that's where we are right now. So wait and hold your breath, because they have 2 more weeks to go next Friday to finalize their work.
I think it'd be helpful for people to understand too, when it comes to assignments on the conference committee. In the past, it used to be you had to vote yes.
Yes.
You had to vote yes to be on the conference committee. And I think most of the time, isn't it the chairs of the committees in which the bill has moved through?
That's correct. The chairs of the subject matter committees and then the minors committee or the legal committees or the CPC committees are the ones that work together and take leadership on the respective bills going into the conference committees. And in the past, you had to vote in the affirmative. You had to vote yes.
Which kind of meant that it looks like they were trying to get the bill passed.
Yeah, so if you voted no, unfortunately, you'd be kicked off the conference committee and not allowed to participate. But they changed the rules, which is a credit to the House and Senate leadership, to allow even a disagreeing or dissenting vote to participate in the conference committee final settlement of the final draft.
And I love that they did that, because sometimes you need that Eeyore voice to ask questions that people that want to see something passed don't necessarily ask themselves.
That's Eeyore? You mean Eeyore?
Eeyore, Eeyore, the little
yeah, the piglet.
He was a
the donkey.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And his tail used to fall off all the time.
Yeah.
So it was pinned right to him.
Right.
Yeah, but Eeyore, he always had that negative voice.
When I hear that word Eeyore, I think about Winnie the Pooh, and I think about House of Pooh Corner, and then I think about Kenny Loggins, and I hear the tune in my head, Christopher Robin. Okay.
So
stay on topic, E.
No, I can't, because just yesterday my brother and I were talking. I made the comment that it was an Eeyore comment, right, which is a negative. And my brother, we all grew up watching the Saturday morning cartoons. And Marcus, I know that you did it too.
I did.
I know that you're in that age group, right, where we all just watched HR Puffin stuff.
Oh yeah, with my Fruit Loops, right?
Yeah. And there was a cartoon character that was more negative than Eeyore. And he used to say stuff like, "We're not going to make it."
Oh, Gulliver's Travel.
So my brother
that was
and I,
glum.
Yes. So we went down the rabbit hole trying to find the name of that cartoon character. And you know what we started talking about? We were talking about how cartoons in the old days were so much more innocent than the cartoons that are out there today.
Well, they definitely were not politically correct.
They were not politically correct. And some of them would not pass muster today.
No, you wouldn't broadcast them today. You'll be slapped with a lawsuit.
Yes.
But, they were in that time and place. It was, poking fun at all of us.
Yes. Right. But going back to the topic, having an Eeyore voice or a glum voice, it's necessary sometimes to get through the weeds.
You got to have that. I always tell people, Ruth Bader Ginsburg used to always be the strongest dissenting voice on the Supreme Court, and it was important. The same way her pal, Justice Scalia, played the opposite role on the Supreme Court. You need to have that. You want to have it. It's desirable in a political body to have that dissent, that contrarian voice. It makes the process better. It makes the majority step up, defend, advance good policy.
Yeah, because sometimes, and I know this is going to be a controversial thing to say, but sometimes no doesn't mean that you don't want something totally. It means you don't like what's happening with that particular bill. I mean, for us, when we're testifying no, we mean no, right? Our no means no, our yes means yes, which is we as faith-based believers, we follow the scripture. But sometimes people at the legislature, they say no because they don't like the particular bill.
That's correct.
But they might be supportive of the subject matter.
That's correct.
Now, do you think that that's sort of what's happening right now on the issue of gambling?
Yeah, I think right now, many of the members, 31 of the 51 members are brand new. They've been elected since 2022, 2024. So they're what I call freshmen or sophomore members of the legislative class in the House. They're probably struggling to just keep above water right now. There's so much going on amongst them. They're being challenged left and right. So I think they're struggling with that. They're deferring to the leadership from the speaker through the majority leader to the committee chairs for guidance, really for guidance, because they haven't been around for a while. So I think that's where they are right now. It's a wait and see to see where the House wants to go with this particular gaming bill, since the Senate has already made their decision to go forward, at least in the current draft.
Right. And so as a reminder, and I know, Marcus, I'm getting emails, texts, and phone calls from people that are really tired of us talking about gambling. That's the only thing you guys are focused on. They don't realize that we have an opportunity to stop gambling before the foothold gets in. So that's why we're fighting so hard. Hawaii has no form of legalized gambling. As we've mentioned a million times, we're like Utah. We're the only 2 states. So, of course, we're fighting hard to keep the foothold. Because if it gets in here, the camel's nose under the tent, then, it's going to be, it's like with abortion and all these other bad things that have happened to the state. What happens is it's never enough. It's never enough. They always want to make it.
This bill is only the most notorious, predatory, evil type of gambling apparatus you can ever imagine, because it's played out on your cell phone.
You're being way too soft and vague. People don't know how you feel.
It's really a bad bill because it goes into your living room, into your pocketbook, into your wallet, into your purse,
and
to your cell phone.
Your family. Do you want that affecting your family?
Well, yeah, if you want it 24/7 for free, but you're going to be spending a lot of time on it, not scrolling and trolling and tweeting and whatever that picture, other kind of stuff, or Xing or whatever they do on whatever.
Yeah.
But you're going to be gambling. You're going to be spending money that you don't have, that you probably need for thrills. I don't know.
That's right. And so I'm not going to make any apologies for the fact that we are fighting so hard against this bill. And I'm hoping that people in the faith community will understand that this is something that is not okay to watch destruction of the family. I mean, we call it the ABCs of legalized gambling: addiction, bankruptcy, crime, destruction of family. And it's just going to continue to get worse. So of course we're stopping, right? So where we're at right now in this, so as people are watching and listening to this, so HB 1308, it, as you mentioned, it passed the Senate, went back to the House. The House disagreed to this because the last time we were talking about it, we didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah. So now it went back to the House. The House has disagreed to the Senate changes. Now we have to take a couple of thoughts into consideration as where we're at, right? Number one, so what could happen right now is they're going to assign conference members from both chambers, right? But there is a small chance that the House could change its mind and agree, right? I mean, so just because they disagree doesn't mean that that's it, right?
Yes, they can always go back in and reconsider the prior disagreement and say, we want to move to reconsider prior disagreement. Number one, first vote. Number two, a motion will be made to agree to the amendments made by the Senate to the House bill. Second motion, debate, discussion, vote. And then approval, final vote on the draft that will be approved going to the governor. So that can happen with little or no notice to the public and to the members.
That's right. So I would assume that if people are watching and listening to this and it's still in that point, that there's probably discussions taking place right now in House leadership on how to move forward from this. And probably in the Senate too. The Senate is probably getting ready to make their assignments.
Yes.
But the House, what's happening in the House? So we're encouraging people to contact House leadership. So we're talking Speaker of the House, we're talking Majority Leader, Minority Leader. Make your voice heard that you just don't want to see gambling. I mean, we don't know what could work, but they're the ones that are having that discussion, right?
Yes.
So is there any other call to action that you can?
Well, the committee chairs, I think just people need to understand that you can also call the governor's office. Because if the measure is enacted by the legislature, it's going to end up at the governor's desk. And he's been quite coy upon where he is right now. But, on such a matter like this, either gambling or no gambling Hawaii, one should not be coy.
I agree. Marcus,
just be upfront about it. Come on.
The Bible tells us not to be lukewarm. So I got to say, I have Christian friends that support gambling, right? Responsible gambling, right? So they're not opposed to it. They believe.
Yeah, I think it's great to go to Vegas and play at the California
Yeah,
Hotel and have fun.
Go. Yeah, go.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do.
Bring me back some snacks from Trader Joe's if you do, though.
Yeah. Oh my God. See, that's what our legislature should be lobbying for, is to get Trader Joe's down here. It would provide jobs.
Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's happening with gambling, so that's what's happening on 1308. But there's also 2 resolutions that are still alive and moving. And Marcus, you and I were talking. So there are 2 resolutions that are moving right now. So I'm going to give you this one so that you can kind of say what's happening with this one, and I will take care of this one. So the first one is House Concurrent Resolution 192. It's in HD2 draft. So basically, this is the one. It's a House Concurrent Resolution requesting the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism to establish a Native Hawaiian Economic Development Working Group. Now, this particular resolution you and I have talked about already, and this one was actually going to see how they could get gaming on Hawaiian homelands to help the Native Hawaiians. But in the current draft, I've got to say, and we've got to really thank the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney and and 3 individuals who testified in opposition to this resolution, because they've made a change. So now the change in this new version of the resolution is, instead of requesting the working group to consider gaming as one pathway to spur economic opportunity for Native Hawaiians, now they're requesting the working group to study the definition of gaming and look at all options to spur economic. Now, that's kind of misleading, because when they say they're going to study all options relating to gaming or all options across the board?
It sounds like all options to support gaming in all its various forms, both physical and metaphysical, online, sports betting.
So casinos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too.
I think they're under the notion like it's all in, fellas.
Chicken fights.
All in. That's right. Pool hall. Pool hall. Hey, I tell you, no, it's like all in, Come on, let's go all in. This is a one-shot deal. We may never have this opportunity again. It's as good as it gets right now. All the stars are aligned. Let's go for it, brother. Let's go for it.
So what that means is, if you were one of those people that didn't have a problem with sports betting, but you had a problem with casinos, then now is your time to raise your voice, because now they're going to include it all.
I can just comment upon this really quick so I can get this in. Is SCR, Senate Concurrent Resolution number 121, entitled Senate Concurrent Resolution requesting the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, which is directed by Director Tokioka, to establish a tourism and gaming working group. Wow. And specifically, they're looking at what can they develop at the Aloha Stadium Entertainment District, and how would that work? And they even amended this measure. Get this, it's kind of interesting. I don't know who these people are. Aloha Halava District Planners, LLC. I know it's a corporation, but specifically requesting the Aloha Halava District Partners, LLC, a seemingly a for-profit corporation, to be invited by the chairperson to participate in the working group. That's unusual. It kind of caught my eye.
Well, I tell you, so to me, it seems like the 2 differences between these resolutions is the Senate resolution that you're talking about is just island-wide gaming, right? They're going to have a working group that's going to study gaming island-wide, whereas the House resolution that I was talking about was specific for Hawaiian homelands, right, and the Native Hawaiian community.
Yeah, and they're going to run into problems with that, because there are federal laws that regulate the area of what's allowed. It's always been a concern. I know the prior congressional delegation going back to Senator Inouye, Senator Akaka, even Congresswoman Mink, have always had concerns about allowing gambling on Hawaiian homelands.
Yeah, I think that we would need to be very concerned about this. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that both resolutions would, according to the House resolution, it says it would dissolve the working group in 2028, but that the report to the legislature would be in 2027. So it's basically kicking the can down the road 2 years. What is that one the same thing? Is it 2027? So it's, you know what they're doing, right? They're skipping an election year because they know that people tend to get more involved in politics during an election year.
This is actually asking them to submit its findings and recommendations, including any proposed legislation, by regular session of 2027. So by December of 2026, they want something in.
So that means, again, missing, though, the whole election year, right? Because 2026 is an election year.
Yeah.
So they're
Well, this is what they can say is that, well, it's being studied right now, so I have no comment. I'm going to wait and see the study because any kind of prudent, responsible policymaker would wait until the study is done. So that's a good way of getting out of it.
Yep. And it's a good time to also remind people that there is a difference between House Bill 1308 and a resolution, right?
Yeah,
a resolution doesn't have the binding effect of law, but
it does have a strong coercive effect upon the directors and the departments and the governor's office to make sure that the legislative wishes are abided by and completed per the provisions of the resolution. Concurrent means it has to be approved by both the House, 51 members, and the Senate, 25 members, so the majority of them. That's what I mean by concurrent. It's like a consolation to a bill, but it's also like a very important memorandum giving agency or department a directive that you must fulfill.
So now is not the time for people to stick their head in the sand. They have to stay plugged in because anything could happen in the next 2 weeks.
This is the time to stay awake, go and get the extra cup of coffee. Yes. Have some green tea instead sometimes.
That's right. Whatever you need to stay plugged in, we're going to help provide you with those tools. So visit hawaiifamilyforum.org to click on our action center. Always whatever's happening is right available on our website right there. And there's other issues, like I said, that are being tracked by other groups. If you're interested in the vaccination issue, there is a group out there. Send me an email at info@hawaiifamilyforum.org and I'll plug you into the people that are doing lobbying on that particular issue. Because there's other issues we should be. So let's just. So in the next couple of minutes, I think what might be helpful, Marcus, is I was thinking about this after the last show. We were talking about gambling, and there are some young whippersnappers that may not know a little bit about the Democratic Party's position on gambling historically. And so I thought maybe you could take a couple minutes just to talk about that.
Yeah, historically, the Democratic Party of Hawaii has always opposed gambling.
Any form?
In any form. It's been pitched by various industries, different leaders, even legislators themselves. Land-based casino, a la Las Vegas type of gambling at the hotels, at the convention center. They've been looking at gambling shipboard. Okay, put it on a boat.
Because it's off in the waters.
Yeah,
right?
off state waters, international. Get into international waters. Go out for a couple of hour cruise. Then you escape regulation as far as gambling under state, federal laws. That was another approach. They looked at lottery, all these different types of gimmicks and attempts. But the Democratic Party of Hawaii and the Democratic Party leadership have always taken the position opposing these measures. I think the closest they may have gotten, let me see, I don't want to name names, but, it was a governor before Linda Lingo, I think, was actually open to the idea until he was talked down from it.
The fun fact on that one particular governor you're talking about, that was the first time that in Hawaii, and you'll remember this, we had the historic override of the governor's veto of the age of consent. You remember that?
That was the first time we did it as
that
Democrats.
Was history.
Yeah.
And Hawaii Family Farm was the lead on that.
No,
Yay!
Thank you very much. And it was really good because current Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke played a prominent role in that action against the then, governor.
And what was amazing is, and maybe we'll do a show on that one time because it was a fascinating ride for us. But what was really cool about that is that it was an almost unanimous vote in both the House and the Senate to raise the age of consent.
Oh,
So when the governor vetoed it, Democratic governor, and it was a democratically controlled legislature, but we overread his.
Yeah, I believe I was the majority leader at that time. I had to count the votes. I had to plan the whole event. So I was keenly aware of it. And my suggestion to the governor at the time was, let it go. You're going to have your veto overridden. And the legislature cannot stand to allow the lowest age of consent in the United States, even lower, I think, like Mississippi or Missouri, one of the southern states, right?
Well, you can ask me off recording who the one legislator was that actually voted against the raising of the age of consent. There was only one.
I can only imagine.
But yes, we'll do that. Okay. So historically, and the reason that I wanted you to talk about that is because people will talk about how the Republicans tend to be opposed to gambling. But this is something that even the Democrats have been fighting for years.
Yeah. We've always been tempted. There's always been solicitors. There's always been outside foreign national interests coming in to set up a shop here. I mean, because they know that Hawaii people like to go to Vegas, the ninth island, we call it Vegas, right? They know that we like to go there. 1 million plus people a year travel to Vegas. I mean, that's why you have California Hotel California, right? California Hotel.
Why do I suddenly want to sing?
Yeah.
I have a song going through my head. All of a sudden.
California
in
Hotel.
The dark desert highway.
Right. Yeah, Sam Boyd, California Hotel, and you have them Vacations Hawaii. They're the same owners. They're the same operations. They have a really good gig there because directly to their hotels back home to Hawaii. They don't want anyone interfering with that. It's for business purposes. But Hawaii has always said, if you guys want to go and gamble, go take a plane. That means you can go and pool your money together. You can get your pension fund together. You can get your savings together. You and your wife have a great time. Take your grandparents. Take your parents over there. Have a great time. Knock yourselves out. Then come home.
And put your money back in the islands.
Yeah. Or go to Vegas and get your return on investment, right? Don't deposit there only.
Let's protect the culture.
Yeah, but that's how it's always been. There's enough opportunities for that for you to go away.
Yep. And we don't want to let any time go by where we do not publicly thank the prosecuting attorney, Steve Alm, who has been fighting hard this session, not only against gambling, but also against the legalization of marijuana attempts.
Yeah, I got to really thank Prosecutor Alm for the work he's doing above and beyond, his role as the county prosecutor. I know the Attorney General is also trying to weigh in. She's doing the best she can, but then she's employed by the governor. So, but I think for those people and the staff especially to come out forward, spend time on this, I really appreciate the work, the extra work they're doing to backstop Prosecutor Alm, backstop the Attorney General on getting the facts and law out there for the legislators.
Yep, and you want to stay plugged into the show because we're going to get Steve on this show. And we're going to talk with Steve about these issues. So stay plugged into that. Wow. So in this last minute, what we want to do is encourage a couple of call to actions. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. So every time we upload a new video, you'll know about it. Stay plugged into what's happening at the legislature. And I'm going to give the last few seconds to Marcus.
Well, again, this is the critical stage of the legislative process. This is the last quarter. We're in the last 10 minutes of the quarter. We're at the goal line right now. It's either hit or miss. This is either you go in or you stay out. And for those who are playing defense, this is the time to really shore up and play defense. Don't take your eye off the ball. For those who are trying to get their measures through, this is the time to put extra effort in. This is it. You guys won't see the legislature back in a regular session till next year. So this is the time to put in. It's worth it. We need your help. You need to get involved.
All right. Well, we thank you for spending time with us today. Stay tuned for the next show. We're going to be talking about religion and faith on trial with the United States Supreme Court. So you want to know what's happening there? We'll see you all next week. Mahalo, everybody.